With all the chapters being compiled into a final volume, Gege now has time to answer and fill in the blanks for us, and he did just that in volume 28, hoping to shed some light on character moments that weren't clear or events that zipped by without much explanation. But there's still a lot that's left unexplained or purposely unresolved, but at least we get some answers we've been waiting for. But anyway, let's get into it. So, one of the most complicated aspects of Jujutsu Kaisen is cursed energy, and the things that can be created or derived from it. In turn, Kenjaku's big plan of having ancient sorcerers incarnate into modern bodies was explained, but there were still some mysteries about the ones who took the newer bodies over. For example, Sukuna's entire plan was to return to his original form, but he waited a decently long time to do that, and when he had so many great parts of himself already collected, most of the time he stayed looking like Yuji, because he couldn't really overtake him. But once he's got Megumi's body, there was nothing stopping him from reverting to his true appearance. Was there a problem with the incarnation? Did it take a certain amount of time? Well, it turns out that Sukuna basically put it on pause, until the moment he deemed it necessary to use up all of his amassed power. And also, I'd like to reiterate this, Sukuna didn't feel like he had to be his fully powered up self, and purposely kept it on snooze until he was faced with a slew of sorcerers. Was it to make the fight last longer, or because he seriously believed there'd be no match for him if he did that? Either way, it's a wild thing to do, intentionally keeping yourself nerfed. It's kind of like Kenpachi and his eye patch. On the other hand, other incarnated sorcerers had the option to use the look of the body they were in, or to become themselves again. One case is Yorozu, who forcefully stopped the complete incarnation, ending it. According to Gege, this was to demonstrate the difference in their power levels. In other words, it's much more difficult to suspend for a time the incarnation of the true form, rather than stopping it altogether. This makes sense if we consider that Yorozu probably lost the chance to regain all of her previous cursed energy and power from rejecting the transformation. Also, this information was meant to be more clearly explained in volume 27, except Gege got really sick and had to have his first major surgery, so he couldn't do it. But anyway, let's go into Airwalk, because Gege refers to the aerial movement done by the more gifted Jujutsu users by this name. Or we could see it as a double jump feature, for those who can't just float there ominously, like Gojo did during the exchange event. Of course, Maki and Toji use their own version of it due to their heavenly restrictions from having no cursed energy, and it gives them more chances of avoiding hits and moving around in places with less footholds or places to grab. Also, avoiding Jujutsu techniques might be better using random places in the air to stand on. And then there's the King of Curses. Sukuna mastered moving in midair by increasing his speed of movement with Airwalk, with cursed energy output at just the right moments. Basically, Sukuna uses Airwalk like all the others can, and then creates more of a boost or speed from fine-tuning his cursed energy release. This is shown most clearly when he rushes to attack Hana, who just hit him with Jacob's Ladder. We see that Yuji wasn't able to make it up there as fast as he did, but Todo was able to defend her, likely due to his high level of cursed energy control. During the same Royal Rumble in Shinjuku, Higuruma was close to reaching that skill level, but ended up being defeated before he could reach Sukuna's point of control. That's just another instance of his genius level of picking up techniques when it comes to cursed energy usage. And likely that explains why Sukuna was so disappointed when Higuruma was taken out. He wanted to see how much further he could grow. Now, moving away from Higuruma, we all know the confusion around Urarame. Not once were we given an indication as to the gender of this character, because they were always referred to as Urarame. But once the anime adaptation came out, we all heard the female voice that matched the feminine form that they had. But just to be safe, none of us called him anything besides his name. Well, as it happens, Urarame was originally male in his time, but incarnated into a female body due to the deal with Kenjaku. According to Gege's explanation, it's due to Kenjaku not using his real name when they made the agreement. So when the time came for Urarame to be incarnated alongside his master Sukuna, he was assigned into a woman's body. I can't help but wonder if this name mishap was done on purpose by Kenjaku to harass him. From what we've seen of him, he can be pretty childish and mischievous, and likes having fun sometimes, so I wouldn't put it past him. I'm surprised he didn't pick Itaboshi to incarnate Urarame in an even more confusing body. Itaboshi is a nickname of his that means frozen star. But that cheeky decision also could explain why Sukuna didn't recognize the boy at first in Shibuya, if he was expecting a more masculine look. As another reveal, Gege tells us that he's actually called Hazunoki, which is the same first name as another incarnated sorcerer. So perhaps Gege did that name swap to avoid confusion? Or was the other sorcerer given the body that Urarame should have had? If Kenjaku hadn't purposely used the wrong name? Either way, Gege thought that he had mentioned that Urarame is actually male, which he clearly hadn't. We didn't even know that that wasn't his real name. Now, aside from that, have you ever wondered how much of the decisions in anime fight scenes are done by the author versus the animation studio? Well, it turns out that Gege's fast-paced battles being expanded not only impressed him greatly, but encouraged him to elevate the type of things that could be performed with curse techniques. I'm sure seeing the fight between Sukuna and Mahoraga developed in that way helped him to create more imaginative moments and decisions, like Yuta facing Sukuna with mystery-copied techniques, or maybe even Toto's Vibra Slap swaps at breakneck speed. This isn't to say that Gege didn't have those events planned, but it might have inspired him to push the fights just a bit further to create more imaginative face-offs. But now let's get into the title of the video, because we're going to go over the secret sorcerer finally being revealed by Gege, and that sorcerer is none other than Usami. Do you remember who Usami is? Well, if you don't, I can't blame you. In case you forgot, which honestly makes sense, he was deemed to be the strongest grade 1 sorcerer by Kusakabe. That's it. Does he show up in the story? Nope. Does he provide any techniques during the soul swapping training? Nope. Do we even see him interacting with anyone else? No. But I guess fans wanted to know, so Gege humored them by letting us know what he looks like. So Usami didn't show up, and he was likely never planned to. And now that the series is over, we just have a face to the name. And just as a bonus, we get a sense of how some major characters feel about him. Gojo just outright hates him for some reason. Mei also dislikes him, but like in her own passive-aggressive way. Miguel has no idea who he even is, which leaves Kusakabe as the only one to give a serious response. Probably because he sees value in Usami's personality and skills. Usami's described as someone who follows rules and orders without question. Another example of someone similar to Gakuganji, but possibly even worse. This at least explains why the rebellious duo of Mei and Gojo want nothing to do with him. It's because he's an op. But as for his appearance, well, I'd say he looks like a more intense version of Higuruma if he were a bit older, and his hair seems to be a bit wavy rather than the usual straight Japanese style. But now that we know about the meaningless new character, the real question is, where are all the other international Jujutsu sorcerers at? We know most are concentrated in Japan, but clearly not all, or, Miguel wouldn't exist. So why don't we know any from China, or Europe, or even America? Or even the United States. I mean, Gojo goes on international missions, always at the wrong time, so there's at least some people out there aware of curses and cursed energy, I guess. But anyway, on to the redraws. So in chapter 252, Gege wasn't able to finish some details on the complicated action scenes for the final battle royale in Shinjuku, and this made it a bit difficult to see what was going on during the showdown and how characters were injured or escaped death. And to be fair, this isn't uncommon considering the tight deadlines and the speed at which chapters are expected to be released. And it's pretty much the same as when Gege was drawing the fight between Maki and the Zenin clan prior to the culling game, and we were left with some pretty hard to see battle sequences. But this time it was during an even more intense and character-filled sequence of events. The redraws providing us with the missing clues for injuries and the impact of some moments that we would otherwise just have to fill in with our imagination. Thanks to Gege taking the time to go back to these spots, we see the intensity of the slice used against Yuta, with Rika rushing to pull him away. Later on, we find out that he was almost completely cut apart like Gojo was and was struggling to stay together. Likewise, Maki's moments in battle are also made clearer as she surprises Sukuna when the domain collapses, and due to her lack of cursed energy. Even the chibi explanation panel and Sukuna's original monstrous form become more polished in the redraws. I have to say though, the chibi reenactment of Yuta being slashed and Maki stabbing Sukuna looks much cuter, in like a messy sketch style. There's also just some fun bonus art, like an upgraded version of Gege's cat avatar. It seems to show the cat as Superman shooting off a laser beam, but hitting the back of his head. Maybe it went around the planet so fast that he hit himself? Your guess is as good as mine. There's also Kenjaku and Takaba talking about their favorite disbanded Japanese comedians, plus a random sketch depicting Sukuna as a crab and Rika as a bat. In a sense, that could make Sukuna like the king of land and water, and Rika the queen of the air? Or maybe I'm looking too deep. All this to say, it's easy to be mad at Gege for speeding through some parts of the story and not giving us as many answers as we'd like. But sometimes it's just really hard for a mangaka, especially when random health issues show up. So maybe we can expect more clarifications or Q&As now that he has time to relax and share hidden parts of Jujutsu Kaisen. After all, we do have a few volumes left to be released, so it seems likely. But let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments, and if you like the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.